Well, we just got the eafc 25 Ultimate Team Deep Dive. First thing I will say is that we better hope Rush is good because it's really one of the main features of next year's game in so many different areas. But anyway, we're going to talk about that more. We're going to go through the pitch notes and then we'll go and show a couple of screenshots and like video clips from the trailer. If you guys would like to buy coins, you can go to mmoxp.com. The link is in the description. You can use my code JFC at checkout for a 5% discount. But immediately here, let's talk about this because they highlight what basically the five main features are of next year's Ultimate Team. You have Ultimate Team Rush, FCIQ, okay, and like I said, FCIQ like doesn't even need to exist, okay. It kind of looks like I might make things a little bit more complicated, which no one really asks for. Rush we haven't even played yet. Hopefully it's good. New stadium and match experience, which let's be honest, you know, larger away sections allow you to bring more of the home stadium experience on the road. No one cares about this. I could be wrong about that. Maybe some people do care. I gotta say, not many do though. Fourth is cosmetic evolutions. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a sec. And the fifth is just like other requests. So the initial set of new features is not eye-popping. Definitely not eye-popping, but let's talk about it. The Rush new 5v5 experience, of course. There is like the screenshot of what the lobby will look like. You can play with friends or you can match up randomly with people that are in your division. There are different Rush events going on at a time, kind of like what the friendlies are, where you can select a friendly to play that will have different sort of eligible pools of players. And different Rush events could provide faster progression towards completing your weekly objectives. Very similar to what the friendlies are, right? La Liga Rush, find teammates for, right? It's very, very similar to that. You'll have to work together to form your Rush squad, which could be kind of a problem, considering everyone's just want to choose maybe like their best attackers here. You'll have 90 seconds to complete the selecting the players phase. Duplicate players are not allowed in the same team, including other versions of players as well. Here's what that screen looks like. So this time we have the FC25 like gold card design, which is pretty cool there. Once again, I'm assuming that these are just all the old ratings because Jude is still 86, obviously. The ratings they show on these types of screenshots are never going to be the actual ratings. You get Rush point bonuses there, and the only reason you actually really care about earning Rush points is because when you go down here, let's try and find it. Yeah, right here. So this is why you want to earn Rush points, right? Because this gets you different packs and stuff like that, depending on whatever the objective is, right? I don't exactly know what this SP means. I don't know if that's season points, maybe. If there's like an end of season objective, that would make sense to me. It's like 30,000 Rush points. You get the same amount of season points as you would for 45,000. It's a different weekly reward, and you also get season points just in the group reward together. So I don't know what the SP part, but it's all just trying to get you more packs, right? That's kind of what the whole point of Rush is, I guess, and allowing you to maybe do it in a little bit more of a fun way. You get match coins, Rush points. You get more points if you do any of the bonuses, like friend bonus. You actually get more points playing with friends. You get a win streak multiplier there. There's a couple different ways you can earn more Rush points as well. One of the nice things about Rush matchmaking looks like is that it will take into account your skill level within Rush specifically and use this to match with your teammates and your overall team skill when finding opponents. So it looks like it'll account for like everyone's skills. So if you're a D1 player, your friend's a Division 6 player, it will like balance that out a little bit, which I think is pretty nice there. So that's really all for Rush, though. It really does look like it's the game mode next year. You know, we talked about wanting a different game mode in FC, and this is the different game mode. It's 5v5 instead of an 11v11 game mode, which could be fun or could be not nearly as fun as we would have hoped an 11v11 game mode would be. No way to know until we play it. So I don't want to like shit on it or anything like that right now, because immediately off rip to me, it doesn't seem super duper exciting. I'd rather have an 11v11 game mode, sorry, but I guess maybe a 5v5 with friends type game mode that's a little bit more laid back maybe is what we're asking for. I don't really want to hate on this right now because I don't know. The one thing I will say that really does not excite me at all, to be honest with you, is FCIQ. I know that we need a sort of tactical revamp on things and some changes to instructions and stuff like that. But when you look through here, you know, you got manager presets. So every manager that you will find in the game has their own preset tactics, like Pep Guardiola and Carlo Ancelotti, etc., right? Which I think is kind of cool. But then there's player roles that come into play here, where they're trying to have it result in more authentic tactical intelligence and movement off the ball. So, right, you got different player roles here. These are the roles that Trent can play in. Right back in these roles here, and his plus is where he can really excel, right? The attacking wing back is where Trent excels. And there's 4 roles here. and a right back and left back, there is 4 roles. So he can play anywhere, any type of fullback. It's just, I guess he can play this one better. Does that mean his runs are better? I don't really know what that even means. But what I just hope this is not, and what it strikes me as, this is only implemented because they wanted to have another way for there to be a power curve in the game, right? I hope they're not thinking, okay, well, you know what we can do is implement a new way for instructions and new tactics to be in the game. But in order for them to actually play as you hope, you have to have a certain level of role, which then only can be, you know, had by the best of the best players. So I don't really know what to make of this. Okay, I don't know. When it comes into the game, it might be, you might have way better attacking AI this year than last year, and it's way better, or it does basically nothing. It just adds more of a power curve. I don't know what to expect from this, but what I will say is that it's not promising to me whatsoever. It feels like this is just a malicious way to make more of a needed jumping card constantly to increase what roles they can play, depending on what roles you want to use in your team. It feels like your tactics might be very limited depending on what assets or players you have, which in theory might seem like kind of a good idea because that's close to real life. If you have a bunch of players in your team that can't play tiki-taka, then it's not going to work, right? So some people might like that, but some might like the flexibility of like, I want to play how I want to play and not how my players have to play, if that makes sense. So I don't know what you guys think about that. These are all the roles. We've seen these roles already. If you want to like quickly skim through these, you guys can. But he also says alternate player roles will be introduced throughout the year. So other player roles will also be introduced, which shows you as well, if a player role comes in and it's cracked or whatever, like they have the best movement or they're super overpowered, if they have aerial and they kind of like make back post runs, say something like that, I don't know, it could end up being super meta and overpowered. So I don't know what to make of any of this really, but it really doesn't seem super exciting to me right now. I've seen this screenshot already once before. Personalize and share though, you can now share your tactics via a short code, which is very cool. You can just use my code for tactics once we figure things out next year. Some formation and position changes already as well have been changed. We've seen most of these, but some we've not seen. It does say they adjusted the 4-3-2-1, not removed it. 2 center forwards replaced by 2 cams. Looks like it will still exist, but I don't know how this is exactly going to nerf it, but we'll see how it plays next year, I guess. It didn't go away. New stadium and match experience. Here we go. This is what we've been waiting for. The stadium does look very cool. I mean, the cosmetic stuff, I think they're really trying to focus on this in case their whole world comes crashing down one day and regulators come in and say, oh yeah, wait, isn't this game for minors and there's tons of gambling in it? They got to have some kind of backup plan. Cosmetics can be that backup plan, I think. So they got to, really introduce this kind of stuff right now. You can now see your exterior, so you can add things to your exterior as well, so you can customize your stadium. I actually liked that addition right away when they added it maybe a few years back now, like really change your stadium up. But having it as like one of the main features, I don't really care enough myself. Maybe that's just not for me. But something with detailed match presentation offline, I'm all for this. I think I would love that, but just in an ultimate team, like I just don't care, honestly. I'm not sure if you guys do, and maybe that's just a me thing, but I personally cannot care less about my presentation really in ultimate team. Doesn't really matter to me. But okay, then now the cosmetic evolutions. So we want you to have more ways to personalize your items and flex your achievements. This was leaked earlier, but you can now change many more things about the evolution, like the background, like the sound effects, the border of it. So that's really nice to see, because I think evolutions are such an important part of the game that I actually think this is a very nice change to have. This is one of the future pillars of Ultimate Team to me. I think this is one of the ways they can really add something new and fun to Ultimate Team. It does say though, cosmetic upgrades cannot be stacked. So applying a cosmetic upgrade will replace the previous one. So I guess you can't like cycle through them constantly, but you can change it, and that design still sucks to me, that green design, but you can change it more often now. A big thing too though, evolve your favorite player items more often. This to me is a fantastic change as well. Evolutions can have maximum limits on certain attributes. Players who will meet or exceed the limit can still be selected for that evolution and receive upgrades to their other attributes as long as they satisfy the requirements. So even if your card exceeds the limits in certain areas, you can still select that card. They can receive upgrades in different stats that are not of the stat that they exceeded in. So say there's an evolution where Jude Bellingham, the shooting is max 70, right? You can actually still use Bellingham in that evolution and just get the upgrades in other areas that are not the shooting, right? So ignore this evolution shade here. Just talking about my hypothetical, right? Say it upped all the card stats, but his shooting was just too high for the requirement. It just won't up his shooting, but it can up all the other stats on him. So I think that's a very nice change. Evolutions to me, I'm super, super excited for next year and see what they can actually do with it. That's one of the things I'm actually excited for. And then I also am excited for this too. Into community improvement improvements now, duplicate storage and SBCs. This obviously could be such a fundamental change next year that we might look back on next year and just say this change alone was so like life-changing, quality of life changing to Ultimate Team that it was worth the purchase altogether in terms of duplicate storage. Or it ends up being every SBC now way more expensive. They account for duplicate storage. Things don't even really improve that much for us. That's a possibility. Don't think that can't be, but I do think that it's going to be hard for this to become like a net negative for us. I think it would be hard for that. I could be wrong, and EA's predatory, cynical nature comes out and it ends up being a net negative for us, but I would doubt it myself. I think their goal for this is players who end up spending more money on the game will keep spending more money because there's now duplicate storage. So I think for us free-to-play guys, I don't think it's going to matter that much, and it's just going to be a net positive for us, honestly, I would guess. But Div Rivals changes here, you know, weekly rewards and points. You can now earn points for draws, you know, 1 point for draws, 3 points for a win. So draws actually do work towards your progress now per your weekly reward. There is no more monthly reward anymore, or sorry, season reward now for TIFOs. Those have been eliminated, and I guess, I don't know, that was it just too good for us? Checkpoints and relegation now as well. Division 1 and 2 will have no checkpoints, so you can now get relegated from Division 1 and 2. You cannot get relegated from the elite division once you make it, apparently. So okay, also just reducing the number of checkpoints altogether. Then we have our legacy division placement as well. We saw this leaked a little while ago. Wherever your highest division was in this game, FC24, will be dependent on where you start next year in FC25. So if you're in elite 1 or 2 last year, you'll start in division 7, and obviously that trend continues throughout the entire graph. So you do start maybe a little bit more of a boost as you get towards higher divisions. It's not like you start in division 3 or something like that, which I was kind of happy to see. You can still kind of grind through the divisions a little bit there, division 7 and up, right? If you want to see how like you have progress on multiple platforms or multiple accounts, you can see how that transitions there. Friendlies no longer does it on rivals matchmaking. We talked about that already. It's more of a form-based matchmaking, similar to FUT champs. Yep, similar to champions right there. They removed contracts, so those are now gone. And then game settings you can now access from the Ultimate Team menu, which you couldn't before because I guess the technology just wasn't there until now. So okay, and that's that in terms of the pitch notes. So really the new features are Rush. Rush is very important to next year's game. If it's bad, we might be fucked. And also basically duplicate storage. So evolutions, Rush, duplicate storage. That's really like the main things to take from this. Okay, a couple little like clips and screenshots from a trailer that I found interesting. There's the pack animation right there. Sophia Smith being packed, right? The tunnel is now back, and people were excited about this, obviously, but I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, pack animation means something to me, but it's fucking hilarious that FUT Sheriff and all these guys on Twitter were tweeting out hashtag boycott EA and getting mad at people for, you know, opening packs, doing that kind of stuff, are now sitting here just absolutely jizzing their pants because the pack animation is now the tunnel again. It's like, this is kind of embarrassing for us who are like, hey, can we improve the game, not make it a gambling simulator? Oh my god, the pack animation's back. It's kind of embarrassing. And yeah, Neb says, if I try to dive headfirst in that deep dive, I'd come away with a cracked skull. That deep dive was no deeper than my toilet bowl. 95% was already covered in other deep dives from EA. Savage. Well, actually, I think most of it was leaked already, though, to be honest with you. And some of it was already covered, yes, in deep dive. So, like I said, those few changes could literally be incredible changes. Like Rush being implemented could be a gigantic new game mode next year. Duplicate storage, massive quality of life change. But the problem is, if Rush isn't that fun, if no one really cares to play Rush, we're in big trouble because there's not much coming to the game. And here is the Inter and AC badges. You've got, yep, unlicensed Rafael Leao and unlicensed Patrick DiMarco here. It is a sad, sad day. Those badges look awful. I'm not gonna lie. They look like shit. This one, I guess, isn't that bad, but the Inter one is pretty bad. So unfortunately, if you're a Milan or Inter fan, you're not gonna be happy to see that. You know, Morrissey says the return of silver teams next year, hopefully. There's a silver Rush there that was leaked. And like I said, these different game modes, different requirements for Rush could be really, really cool. All this stuff could be. I just don't know how much I believe that myself, considering it's the first year it's implemented. Will it be that life-changing in the Ultimate Team landscape? I wouldn't think so, but it could be, I guess. But when you look at these patch notes, is there stuff that's missing? I mean, yes, I think that we could have seen a lot more interesting changes next year. And one of the things that they didn't highlight almost at all, or talk about really at all either, is like, hey, we're going to make players possibly cheaper next year. We're going to implement more players in promos. We're going to implement less promos or more promos here and there and figure out ways to balance the promo system right now. Figure out ways to balance the power curve, right? None of that is here. They didn't talk about any of that. So they clearly were very satisfied with how that went this year. So if you were hoping to see changes there, you're probably not going to see any because they highlighted none of that. And you know that that'd probably be an advertising feature next year if that was planned to be in the game, right? By the way, playstyle pluses on goalkeepers are, you know, they do exist. They'll be on gold cards now. And it feels like player roles are only existing. This change to me makes no sense. I'm not going to lie to you. Of course, we don't have the game yet. Very big piece of the puzzle, right? Don't have the game, but this feels to me like just a way to make cards either like not in the power curve enough or very strict to the point where you kind of can't use certain cards because they don't fit any sort of meta tactical system in any way. Ideally, there would be no meta, but everything in this game is based towards rewards. If you want to use your favorite players, oftentimes you have to try to get the best rewards you can, get the most coins you can, right? So it feels like this is all a big way to be like, hey, you got to keep upgrading your team so that you can play different roles with them, and you know the tactics and meta could change because of patches and stuff like that. So it feels like this is not a sort of change that's going to help us at all. This feels like a change that can only help EA, really, most likely. Once again, I'm speculating mainly, but I'm speculating off of years of experience here. And like I said, you know, work rates have been replaced, right? So there's no work rates anymore, which that could be a good thing. That actually could be, maybe that allows for more flexibility between players. But my guess is we're going to have a clear, distinct meta on what the best instructions and roles and whatever you want to call it, best formation are. So at that point, you're basically willingly not using the best tactics in the game, which the best tactics should not exist. Like, I don't want there to be a best tactics, but knowing EA, half the formations and roles will be coded to where you can't even use them, or like they're going to be so much worse than they should be that it makes certain player roles then like obsolete because you won't even be able to use the player in said position or role. So it could be theoretically a great change, but knowing EA's implementation on things, I would doubt it. And going back to like the pack animation, pack tunnel stuff, I mean, I'm all like, you can have gambling elements in this game, and like getting excited for pack animations isn't like the worst thing ever. I get excited myself if they brought the FIFA 19 one back. It's just when you combine that with everyone saying if you buy FC points, you're a fucking idiot, and then you're over here literally orgasming over this new pack animation. You only get this new pack animation when it feeds your addiction and you open packs up. Even if you're free to play, you have to still be like cognizant of why the pack animations exist the way they do. They're only designed to manipulate you, right? That's all they are. So you have to be aware of that when you are playing and make sure that if you're an FC point spender, that is in the game right there. They have designed this specifically to make sure it is the most dopamine hitting, addicting it can possibly be, okay? When you're cognizant of that and aware of that, it becomes less of that, but you just need to make sure that you know that this change only exists because they want to change things up year by year and make things more dopamine hitting when you spend those sweet, sweet FC points. $150 now in the store, please. Cha-ching ching. And like I said, I even think gambling elements can be in the game. I just don't think the predatory nature of them and the fact that people just don't say fucking anything about the fact that it's an E for everyone game and kids are getting addicted to gambling every fucking day. I think people have a responsibility to try and speak out against that, but I guess you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you a lot of the time, so it ends up not happening as much as it should. Not to say I'm the only one doing that, of course. Plenty of people do that, but not as many as there should be, in my opinion. But okay, let me know what you guys think of this Ultimate Team Deep Dive. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you made this far in the video, drop the peach emoji, drop the ass emoji, okay? I will heart all the ass emojis. Thank you for being here. I should have another video tonight out if we get more news and stuff like that. I'm not sure, but okay. Let me know what you think. I love you all. See you soon. Peace.